Does any of your strategic planning around tax efficiency trickle down from the advisor and expand their thinking around how they consider tax efficiency with their clients? Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, I do. It really depends on what the client base is. A lot of times, like I'll have advisors when they're in the midst of things, they'll ask me about, oh, I have a client that's having this situation. What do you think about it? And, can give them some kind of frameworks to work through with some of those kinds of issues. Or, this is what I would consider when approaching whatever this problem is that they're dealing with. And it does, especially if they serve business owners, a lot of it trickles down. A lot of it is useful. In the US, it's kind of a two-tiered system between if you have people who are W-2 employees, they have very little control over what's going on with what's hitting their income tax returns, unless they're going to start getting into some mechanisms to shield that income in another way beyond just like retirement planning, which I don't really consider retirement planning you do it for do things on the tax side for some income smoothing there. But for the most part, that's just like a deferral game. But for them, certainly there's a lot of things that trickle down, especially as they understand more around what makes different entities appealing and how those rules work and what kind of record keeping systems are going to serve them better and how do they need to be doing their own compensation and different things, that are available for them once you're out of the bucket of employee and you're in the, business owner seat. You've complete control over your tax liability because you have complete control over your income generation. So,
yeah, makes sense. Within your array of how you present yourself on LinkedIn, and when people start to get to know you, you have this position, and I don't quite understand it, I guess. But what do you mean that taxes are optional? Like, what does that mean? Help me understand that.
Yeah, so it's a little tongue in cheek. So when I say taxes are optional, what I mean by that is I think people get into this false mindset of losing agency around income taxes. And they think income taxes are something that happen to them rather than this is a game with set rules that if you behave a certain way, you get a certain outcome. It behaves by rule of law. We're playing a board game. And so once you realize that, oh, I'm playing a game, I have agency here. This is something that if I can change my behavior, I can change my outcome because this behaves on a set of rules. And so when you're paying income taxes, it's not this thing that just, snowfall comes upon you and you have no control. You have agency, especially as a business owner or, and for advisors that are running their practices, you are generating the income that is triggering the income taxes. And you are specifically generating those income taxes. And depending on where you are and what you're trying to achieve in your practice, that income tax liability is something that you are the person generating that. Obviously, like we don't make the laws and we can't control, what the rates are and things like that. But you have agency to control that number. And it's one of those things, early on in the planning process, I start with, we got to figure out what that number is if we did nothing. Where are you at today if we just did nothing? And then the second question is, are we happy with the number that we get? If it's going to be 100,000, 500,000, $1 million, whatever the tax liability is are we happy with this? Is this worth, this is the outcome of the game currently. Do we want to change things to try to reduce this? A lot of times the answer is yes. A lot of times the answer is no. It just depends on all the other factors of what's going on in the business. But I think when I say taxes are optional, it's that get yourself out of the mindset of this is something that you don't have control over, because you do. Like your actions are the things that are directly generating this. And so you can have a plan around it and you can change your actions to change the outcome in the game.